Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry, and I finally made it on my cruise that I have mentioned in I think 3 of my previous videos. And what you see behind me is Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have just boarded the cruise ship. It's going to be here until 4 o'clock today when we sail off. This is the 16th cruise that I've done in my whole life. Only a few in the recent years have I had a chance to video. And when I do a cruise, the very first thing I do is take my bags into my room, grab my camera, and then I go up to the buffet and have lunch. And then I get me a tequila sunrise from the bar and then make my introductory video, which is what this is. So let me go get my drink and then have a seat. All along the east coast of Florida, they have this waterway and then an island that runs the whole lengthways of eastern Florida. And over there you see a big parking lot. I'm not sure what else is over there. And then off to the left is some of the big hotel buildings. I got my tequila sunrise. And now in my next video I'm going to show you around the ship, but in this video I'm just going to talk about cruising in general, especially after the pandemic, as cruise lines are just getting really back in business. And first I'm going to answer the question that is probably on most of your minds. After the pandemic, is it too early to go cruising? Well, I'm going to say yes, I think it's too early to go cruising. I'm going to tell you why, and then I'm also going to tell you why I've decided to do it anyway at this time. So let me give you a few reasons why I think it's probably too early to go cruising. Number one, there are several restrictions that they put on all of us passengers that has never ever been a problem before. Number one, you have to get vaccinated. Here's my vaccination card. Now, I did not want to get the vaccination. I've never been vaccinated for anything in my whole life. I'm not a person that easily gets sick, but I had to do it or they wouldn't even let me on the ship. And also, they wouldn't let me on the ship unless I got a negative COVID test within 2 days of boarding the ship. So I did that, and I have my COVID test certificate. Now, another restriction is that we have to wear these doggone face masks anywhere indoors, and I see everyone wearing them outdoors too. And I think in some places outdoors, you are required to wear them. And I really hate these face masks. It's really weird seeing people, passengers on a cruise, wearing a face mask. You can't tell their expression. You can't tell whether they're smiling or growling at you. And you know what? These face masks remind me of that Twilight Zone episode where everyone in the world has ugly faces. This one lady has a very pretty face, and they do an operation to try and make the pretty lady look ugly like everyone else. And they had the kind of face where you could not tell their expressions with the way their face was. That's just what it kind of reminds me of. And along with the face mask problems, also in the buffet, you can no longer serve yourself anything in the buffet. They have their employees behind the counter. They have to put the food on your plate, which I don't like. I don't like people putting food on my plate. I want to get what I want and how much I want and where on the plate I want it. So it's a bit of an annoyance to me. And then another restriction is that no one is allowed to take any private tours at the ports where we're going to be stopping. You can't rent a taxi. You can't take any private tours. You can only take tours that were booked through the ship's own tours. And you can't go out and just walk around town at these ports that we're going to be going to. Now, what kind of amazes me is that everyone on the ship has been vaccinated. We've had a recent COVID test showing we don't have it. We're wearing face masks, and still they don't trust us. They're still so scared that somebody's going to get COVID. With all these precautions, I don't see how. And the restriction about the tours, that actually has nothing to do with the cruise ship. Those are restrictions that each individual port has, and it's not at every single port. Some ports, I heard, would allow private tours or just walking around outside, but some tours are very strict. I have to always, when I get off the ship, take my card with me. And during this cruise, we are making stops at 6 islands, and there's no guarantee we're actually going to be able to get off at all of those islands. I have heard rumors that 1 or 2 islands may be so frightened of cruises that they won't even let us off. That we would just have to sit there on the ship all day long. We'll see if that actually happens. That's just a rumor, but each island has its own COVID restrictions. I'll let you know how that turns out. So when all of these restrictions go away, that's when I'll say, okay, now it's a really good time to go cruising again. Now let me tell you why, after all that, I've decided to do the cruise anyway and kind of rushed into it. For me, this cruise is costing $2,600. I paid $500 of that in cash, and the rest of it is a free cruise credit given by the cruise line Holland America, because on my last cruise to Southeast Asia in January, February 2020, halfway through the cruise, no ports would allow the ship to even stop. And the ship floated around the ocean for 2 weeks straight, trying to find some port somewhere that would let us get off just to be able to fly home, which we finally did. And because of all that we went through, Holland America gave a cruise credit for the second half of the cruise. So that's the majority of what I'm using to do this cruise with, and it expires. My cruise credit expires at a certain time. If I don't use it, you use it or you lose it kind of thing. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and get it done. Now another thing is the airlines are behaving very badly, as I'm sure you've heard in the news. They fire thousands of their employees, and then they say, oh, sorry, we're short-staffed, so we have to cancel flights. And I was really, really worried that that would happen on my flight from New Orleans to Fort Lauderdale. And I had some worry that the cruise line might cancel the cruise, because somebody told me that this particular cruise this week only got about 40% booked, when normally they get close to 100% booked on all their cruises. And also, due to some people having their flights canceled, they would miss the cruise. If you don't get here in time, the cruise ship leaves on time without you. So with having such a low capacity booked, plus some people who probably not going to make it, then it's a very, very low capacity on this cruise, which actually I'm not minding not having the big crowds. And in fact, if you'd like to get away from the crowds and still do a cruise, this actually might be a good time for you to do a cruise. As long as you don't mind all those other restrictions. With this being my 16th cruise, I'm well experienced in what cruises are like. And this one is going to be really strange. In a lot of ways already it has been strange. And with the face mask wearing, I know I'm not going to enjoy it as much as I normally would expect to. And if there's any big surprises at some of those islands we're supposed to go to, that could really be a disappointment, especially after half of my last cruise basically being canceled. Didn't see all those places in Southeast Asia that I wanted to, that I was supposed to. But strange things can happen, especially with this pandemic we've been going through. So I'm going to be making a video at each one of the ports that we stop at, and I will keep you updated as to how this cruise experience is going. So watch for my next video coming up, where I'm going to walk all around the ship with my video camera and show you what the ship looks like and a little bit more of the surroundings around the port here. So if you're a fan of cruising and you haven't done a cruise in 2 years like I have, you may be itching to do another cruise. So I hope this video has given you some ideas about it if you haven't done another cruise yet. Good day, folks.